Hello, and welcome back to Gypsies Landing. I am your host, Brittany Jackson. I specialize in personal development and how to live an authentic life leading from your heart. How do you respond when things don't go as planned? What do you do when you are feeling frustrated? I was struggling for a while to find inspiration on what to talk about for tonight's episode. I felt flat, and usually I start writing my outline on Mondays, record Tuesdays, and then post on Wednesdays. Usually starting on Saturdays and Sundays, I start to get a little riled up, wondering, what am I going to talk about? What is going to inspire me? What is going to be the motivation for this week's episode? So yesterday, I intentionally set aside time to try to channel this inspiration. I meditated, I prayed, I journaled, I drew an oracle card, and that's kind of when I felt the original topic I had planned resonate with me. So for hours yesterday, I put into designing this outline. And earlier today, I spent hours organizing it and making sure that it was ready to share with you tonight. But then the plans changed a few weeks ago when this original issue arose. It was after I posted my second episode on Gypsies Landing. I had posted about it in a Facebook podcast support group where other podcasters give suggestions and inputs, and we all help each other through this journey. One person had shared that I should consider changing my name because I should not use the G word, which she was referring to Gypsy. I brushed it off. I didn't really read into it because I loved the name Gypsy and I wanted to work with it. Also, I had mentioned in a previous episode that the name Gypsies Landing had meant a lot to me because I was going to start my own Airbnb vacation rental a few years ago and call it Gypsies Landing by making it travel theme, and then the business fell through. So fast forward a few years when I am going to start my podcast, I thought the name would be perfect and I could finally use it. Apparently, this name is a curse, and I should have left it where it ended a few years ago. So fast forward to when I told my friend about the comment that this person had made about changing the name because of the G word. My friend looked like she had understood what that person meant, but I didn't want to ask, I didn't want to feed into it, and I changed subject because I didn't want to go there. I already started this business, I've already branded, and I've been promoting, so I did not want to have to go back to the drawing board. So today, the third strike arose. I received a message from a very kind woman, and she said, "Hey girl, just wanted to let you know that the term gypsy is technically a racial slur towards the Romani people. I know you've already started your podcast, but just keep that in mind going forward." Earlier today, I had also downloaded the Chat GPT app because I was reading about podcasts and suggestions for podcasters, and it suggested to use the Chat GPT as a personal assistant from time to time because many podcasters do. So I downloaded it earlier thinking I would give it a try. So when this last message arose, I asked GPT, "Is gypsy a bad word to use?" The chat responded, "Yes. Gypsy is generally considered a derogatory and offensive term. It has been historically used as a racial slur against the Romani people, an ethnic group originally from northern India who now live primarily in Europe and the Americas. The term carries negative connotations and stereotypes that are harmful to the Romani community." Why it's offensive. Stereotyping. The term gypsy is often associated with stereotypes of nomadism, dishonesty, and criminal behavior, which perpetuate harmful and inaccurate views of the Romani people. Cultural misappropriation. The word has been used in popular culture to describe a bohemian lifestyle, often detached from the actual experiences and struggles of Romani people. The misappropriation trivializes their identity and culture. Historical context. The Romani people have faced centuries of persecution, discrimination, and violence, including during the Holocaust, where hundreds of thousands were murdered. The use of gypsy disregards this painful history. It also states it's always best to use terms that communities identify with and to avoid language that perpetuates stereotypes or causes harm. They say you learn something every day. I had no idea. I am so truly sorry if anybody knew that about the name and I offended anybody. I had no idea of its implications and history. What I knew the term gypsy as was a free-spirited adventurer who was beautiful, spiritual, of the land, loving, kind. I had no idea that it had this context, or I would not have used it. So obviously, this is an announcement that I will be changing the Gypsies Landing name. I hope that my podcast continues to grow and evolve and get more followers, and I do not want to harm anyone in the process. That is not the values of my podcast. My values of the content I'm going to be sharing is loving, spiritual, about personal development, authenticity, vulnerability, self-help, self-care, about growth and evolving, and I need to apply these values on this decision as well. This is very humbling and disheartening. Thankfully, I only have 3 episodes out before this transition, but it is hard when I was attached to the name and I've already started this momentum and thinking that this was going to be my brand and my name. I think that my higher power works in mysterious ways, and usually when people end up in interesting situations, they like to say, my God has a funny sense of humor. And that is what I'm feeling right now because I am a student, as I've said time and time again, which means I will be learning and growing as I find my grounding and what works for me as this evolves. And I am making this transition because I care. I care about my audience and I care about our connection. And I would never want a name of my podcast getting in the way of that. So everything else about my podcast and all the content I plan to share will not be changing. It is genuinely just the name. Through this, I hope to still connect with the audience I have already been building and hopefully draw in and attract new and a bigger audience as I move forward with a new name. I'm going to be honest about how I'm feeling and the process of this. Right now, I am feeling okay. I honestly feel a little embarrassed because I had no idea. I originally didn't want to ask for a lot of suggestions and opinions because I wanted my podcast to evolve as authentically to me as possible. But clearly there are some cons with that approach in going about things alone. I also felt a little defeated because I felt like I was on such a roll with this, and that has felt like a setback. And I don't have a new name available for you because this all literally happened tonight. The night I was going to record this episode. So that's why this is the inspiration and this was the topic. So honestly, having to accept that the name I chose and I've been using is not going to work and have to completely recreate something else I don't know what that is yet. And I already asked Chat GPT what its suggestion was and wasn't really a fan of any of it. But at the same time, it's also going to take a little bit to get used to this and adapt to the idea that I'm going to have to rename my podcast. So at the same time, another name tonight is not really going to sound that great, but I am open to the universe. And I do believe that everything happens for a reason and that nothing in God's world happens by mistake. And I really feel that I am redirected with purpose. I really believe that something good is going to come from this. And I believe that the new name will be even bigger and better. So at first, when I got that message, I felt really defeated. I felt really discouraged. I felt really disappointed. And part of me felt like, what's the point anymore? Like, why even do this? Because I had felt so defeated. And thankfully, like I've talked about in prior podcast episodes, that I have developed that other side that then stepped up and spoke to that side of me and said, no, we are not going to give up. This means everything to you. You have put so much into this, and you are going to continue to put so much into this because that is the kind of person that I am. When I decide on something and I care about something, I know who I am. Even though that inner critic wants to doubt, question, try to discourage me from pushing forward, I can push forward. So when I get really overwhelmed like that, when I feel defeated, I also get really mentally, emotionally, and spiritually exhausted. I did have to start recording certain things on this episode and then stop and delete them or start all over again because it's hard for me to even think straight, but I'm still here. The first time when I tried recording about this message, I sounded really frustrated and irritated and bitter. And I was like, nope, not speaking from your heart. Drop back into your heart and try again. I still showed up to record this podcast for you tonight to bring you in on what's going on, where I'm at. We're on this journey together. I also made the commitment to me and to you that I was going to show up each week no matter what. Even if I don't have much to talk about or I don't know what to talk about, I will talk about that. I am going to stick to this commitment for me and for you, no matter what I'm feeling and no matter what I'm going through. Every problem that arises has a solution, even if we don't see it at the time. You can turn everything into a positive. It is a matter of a perspective shift. So what I'm hoping to get from this issue that arose and having to reroute and regroup is to have you on the journey with me. I have been asking in each episode to please let me know how this podcast is going for you. Leave comments, share your journal reflections, but now I really need you more than ever. I could really use your suggestions on podcast names because I don't want to go through this alone. That's why I'm here. It is not just me and my podcast, it is ours. So I hope to get that engagement that I've been hoping for from you on the other side of this. Maybe that's why this happened, because the higher power of the universe wants to bring us together, wants to show the value of working together. Let's rebrand and develop this better than it was. Let's keep improving side by side. I also hope that this helps grow my audience in this transition. Maybe that word, with me not understanding the full meaning of it, was keeping from people wanting to listen and engage with my podcast. So I'm hoping this new name will align better, work better, and get the results that I hope for moving forward. As I engage with all of you throughout the next week, I am so excited to hear your suggestions. Please tell me, were you like me, where you were misinformed and you had no idea about the word and the name and the title? Or were you secretly thinking and feeling these things as well as those other people that spoke up to me behind the scenes, wishing that I would get the memo? I would love to hear if I educated you through this, or if you already knew. Maybe you're happy and supportive that I decided to change the name. And if you don't understand, please join me in being willing to understand, being willing to do the right thing. Even because we don't intend something doesn't mean that it doesn't make it true. There is more to anything than we could ever know. I would like to give you a few reflection questions about this topic. How do you handle setbacks when these type of things happen to you? How do you show up for yourself when you're being tested? Are you able to take constructive criticism? Now I would like to say some affirmations together. I can overcome any obstacle that gets in my way. I am open to learning and evolving to become my best self. I believe everything happens for me, not to me. Now I would like to share a prayer. Please feel free to invite in your higher power, your God, your Mother Earth, your Father Fire. Dear Source of the universe, I pray over the listener. I pray that they were able to learn and take something from my experience, so it's not only going to be valuable to me in some way, but also becomes of value to them. What are they meant to learn? Is it how to admit mistakes? Is it how to ask for help? Is it how to reframe setbacks? To push forward positively? Please let what is supposed to resonate with the listener resonate with them. Please help them believe in themselves enough to try in whatever it is that they want to do, and to give themselves grace along the way, to be human, to be imperfect, and to always want to show up better. Thank you so much for being here and supporting me on this journey. Thank you for coming back week after week. I am also very intrigued on what this podcast was tonight. I did not have an outline for it. I went off the rip. It was all very last minute, but it is something that arose, and it is something that is important. So please, I ask for your engagement and your support. And I look forward to meeting with you again next week as I share with you whatever the brand new name will be that hopefully we will all decide together on this platform that we come to connect with one another. You mean so much to me. Until next time, live well and be happy.